Hey guys, I hope you're good. I am in the toilet on the plane back to San Francisco. I've had a mad couple of weeks doing a couple of talks and various other things in London. One of them was at Newcastle Business School about the mission, method and market of Givey, and that's going to come after this. And there was another one called Why Give, which is about the neuroscience and economics of giving, which I did at Digital Shoreditch, and I'm going to link that in the description below. I hope you enjoy those. I've got loads more travelling coming up with the usual candidates, and I'm going to be at VidCon later, so it's going to be a good summer. I hope you're well, I hope you enjoy the videos, and I look forward to seeing you soon. The concept that I've been thinking a lot about in the last week or two has really been about talent, and what is talent, and what does it represent. And at the bottom line, talent, whether you're talking individually or corporately in an area or within a country or within a team, is really the aptitude, the capacity, the opportunity. And for me, the word eudaimonia, which comes from the Koine Greek, which means human flourishing, is really what we are heading for, what our goal is, and the talent or the aptitude of any individual group is really what we're working with in terms of trying to create more of that. So when you look at it individually, I think that the best way to harness that talent is to try to fill the gaps between where there is leakage, basically, and that is the same with collectively when we're looking at teams or in cities, that wastage is the biggest topic to discuss. So the way I would describe the work we've been doing with Givey is that the first 2 years we're thinking about the mission. When I first started my company when I was 21, we managed people's ads on Google. I started travelling and asking people questions about what stuff matters, which helps me articulate some of the things I've just mentioned. And I started to think about, ultimately, what story within society am I interested to be a part of? And when you think about what story you want to be a part of, it takes the pressure off your individualistic success or your project actually being, well acclaimed, or you being heralded as the person who did that, but actually you are just putting your fuel and your energy in a direction that you think matters. So for me, the first question I had to answer was, well, what mission is actually worth being a part of, whether I succeed or fail? And for me, this whole concept of giving is a powerful force in the world that I feel needs to be propagated, built around, put energy into, thought cleverly about, and help to remind people that, reminding them and helping them feel a sense of empathy, and then helping people to feel empowered to turn that into action, is a story that I wanted to be a part of. So after I realised that this was the mission that I wanted to be a part of, then I had to come up with some kind of method that would enable us to take that idea further than just words. And obviously when I say I, it's not me, it's a whole group of probably 100 people that have worked with me over the last sort of 10 years, but I'll just talk about it from my perspective. If all I ever do is just narrate the story, then all it ever is words, and I'm relying on purely influence or inspiration for others to take that forward. But we wanted to have a crack at trying to take that idea further. So then I'm kind of looking at where the world's at today and asking, well, what kind of tools are useful in developing a method to disseminate that mission further? And so we started to think that maybe business was a good method, that technology, web technology was a good tool to use. And then we started to get further and further into it, and we've thought about, as Fiona mentioned, the business model within the online giving space is actually not a very transparent or respectful model where people don't know that parts of their money is getting taken out. So we wanted to rethink that. We didn't necessarily like the idea that what is being measured at the heart of the culture of online giving is how much you give versus how much you give, which is competitive in nature and transactional in nature, which I think detracts from the essential value of the giving economy anyway. So we rethought about what stats we actually measure and celebrate at the heart of the culture of our community. And thirdly, looking at, are we actually helping people to think creatively about engaging with the complex problems in our world? And actually, the concept that predominates online giving in the UK is challenge fundraising, running a marathon for a charity that you care about. There's nothing wrong with that, but actually online giving can be far bigger than that, far more creatively engaging for people to think about how to interact with these complex problems and provide resources and solutions and spread the awareness of them. So we built a tool that allows you to connect any piece of digital content on the web to a charity, make a donation and share that with your friends, not really talking about how much you've given individualistically, but looking collectively how much have we achieved and what kind of problems are we interested in solving. So we spent a lot of time trying to consider the right method to build around this mission, and then more recently we've been considering, is this the correct market? You know, I was born in Johannesburg, but for all intent and purpose I've been living in the UK all my life, and you know, is it the right thing that this idea should be here? Is this where our early adopters are? Or are we making life hard for ourselves by not being with the right community to adopt this idea and to help it scale? And actually, when you look at the statistics of 10 billion of individual giving in the UK versus the US of 300 billion of individual giving, and 65% of workplaces having some kind of workplace giving scheme with only 3% adopting the Give As You Earn scheme here, you begin to think that actually maybe with all the world's, well not all of them, but nearly all of the world's largest consumer tech businesses within a few miles of each other, on the 101 or the 280 between San Jose and San Francisco, you begin to think that maybe that's a good place for us to start to root our brand and to gain traction, to be more strategically involved in the tech community, to disseminate this idea. I think that having a narrative, really working hard on what is a narrative that I can believe in, that I can get others to believe in, that I think is important for society, from a tiny neurochemical position in terms of what happens in your brain when you give, but then what the effects are when you scale that up into macroeconomics. Tapping into that narrative has meant that we have had this kind of BHAG advantage, where some of the guys and girls that have chosen to work with me never would have done if we didn't have that big audacious goal. And so attracting that talent and making the most of the talent in a group or an area, I think you have to have stories that are big enough to get people to become interested. And I actually had a bit of a moment last week when I sat down with our newest recruit, Emma, and I asked her many questions, you know, why are you here, what are you doing, you know, where do you want to be in 10 years' time, etc., how can I help you do that? And then a few minutes later she said, can I just come back to why I'm at Give here? And I said, yeah. She said, and this really, like, it choked me up actually, and she said, because I'm bored. I'm just bored. I'm bored of what I see in my social stream. I'm bored of the conventional ways of giving to charity. I'm just bored. And it really choked me up because I realised that sometimes I think, why the hell am I working on this bloody difficult story and business? And I realised when she said it, I'd never thought of it, but when she said it back to me, I realised because I'm bored. I'm bored of business as usual. I'm bored of nice ideas that can never get to scale because they're not strategically positioned to get in and mess with the system. And I'm bored of just making money. I'm bored of all of that. And she gave me language to help articulate my own feelings. And I think that when I look at the team of talented people, of which 4 of the guys are here, go on, give us a little wave. Now, these guys are exceptional people that if you have a chance to speak with them, you'll see they all have incredibly different journeys. But what's common amongst everybody here and in our team down south as well is a desire for more, a desire to go beyond, and in some way a sense of boredom with the status quo, with the system, and an idea, a belief that it's not even a belief or a worthy thing, it's just wanting to do something interesting. And for me, working on scalable ideas that are mission driven is the most difficult and interesting thing to do. And what I see a lot of people doing, especially in the Silicon Valley, which I'm based in now, is people looking at the market first and foremost and trying to design a method and then wondering whether afterwards they might be able to fit a mission into it just to try and make it look good or whatever. For me, that's boring and a waste of intelligence, a waste of aptitude, and a waste of our resources, essentially. The only projects that I find interesting or would advocate for are where the leaders have spent serious time considering what behaviour set is this helping, what story is this putting fuel on, what mission is worth doing, what is the most intelligent method we can create with the most interesting and useful tools available to us, and only then thinking, well, what kind of market should we be in to start getting traction with this idea. If I bring it back down to my relationship with Newcastle over the last few years, it has been a fantastic place for us to R&D. We've had to take what was a very sort of broad and simple question and turn it into something very detailed and unique. And that's taken time, and there has been the community and the level of resources required to take us from A to B. I've made the strategic choice that for where I should spend my time now, I don't think that even the UK has the resources or the patience, essentially, to help resource us to get to scale, and that's why I'm spending my time in the Valley. But I am, deeply thankful to Newcastle, the Newcastle community, for, funding that. I mean, a significant gap of, probably about £1 million worth of resources to get us from idea phase to something that's now, really got a chance to scale globally and end up taking billions of pounds and dollars worth of resources into its kind of narrative as such. And thankful on a more individualistic level to these guys for being willing to put their intelligence and talent into this narrative as well. So not only have I found individuals, but there's an ecosystem that's been helpful in this R&D phase. I think that the way that we've stayed alive, stayed in the game, which is the order of the day when you're trying to do a tech startup, is by understanding the value of Newcastle in the context of the wider global village, and being able for me to sell that story to investors that we've got this amazingly talented, uninterrupted, no bullshit kind of great talented, cheap team up in Newcastle with great universities, with new talent on the way. We can grow our team there. That's been a wonderful positioning statement in terms of me taking that out and pulling more resources in from other communities. So I don't think it's about going elsewhere and having a brain drain. I don't think that's useful at all. It certainly won't help create anything new in this area. But equally, I don't think it's about being locked into the framework of like, no, we're in the northeast, or we're in Newcastle, and we can do it on our own. I think that would be missing a trick if that was the mentality. I found that I started my journey in my hometown, came up here, left them alone for a couple of years, worked on it up here, got fresh energy, fresh ideas, fresh perspectives, moved it along, and actually now my the completeness of the Gibby sort of team really is partly in my hometown, where people I've worked with in the first businesses, partly up here, and partly with my network in America, which I've been building over the last couple of years. And actually, giving people a break can be a great way to revitalise energy, so something doesn't actually just die. Going in that order helps, because then when you get to the tough times, you can see it through, and people who are around you see that and appreciate that. You can't fake it. I can't anyway. I just have no other options, basically. Let's go take it to the world. Let's literally go out and knock doors down in other places and build those weird serendipitous relationships. That would be my only contribution if there was one. Thank you so much for listening, and I'd love to have any discussion or deal with any questions that people were interested in.
On your own, without the teams like here?
No, I mean, if I had gone to the Valley just talking about my mission, then, which is what I could do on my own, I can create stories, that's what I can do. So I could have done that, but I don't think we would have got anywhere. The fact that we've worked on it for 3 or 4 years, been through some hard times, built something that's actually already adding unique value to people in the world right now, that was the right time to go. So that's why I say that for me, Newcastle's been like a fantastic R&D place. The question is always, how do we maximise our opportunity, maximise the intelligence and resources we have to achieve the mission. But, having said that, what I have found here is completely unique. So there are some relational things. I've got some great friends here who have been on some serious journeys with me. It's cost effective. I have some financial responsibilities here as well. Our tech base will continue to be here. Our sort of UK marketing office is down near London. Because again, it's the right community for that kind of activity, and I guess I am the US kind of sales office right now. So my objective is to get Gibby to a point where there's somebody who's better to do my job than me, and at that point I would no longer do my job. But for as long as I feel I'm filling a gap in the overall intelligence system of the business, then I will do that. My main goal is get the job done, is achieve this, and ultimately change the culture and how people think about themselves in the context of others through using the web tools that we have. The thing that I feel this region needs is success stories. Success stories of where people have come here, done some awesome stuff, and got that early funding that they wouldn't have got anywhere else necessarily, with some great talent that were willing to get down and do some stuff, and then managed to actually go and connect that to other communities and other markets. It is about lifestyle design to some degree. So when I sold the first company, I didn't make £1 million or anything, but I own half a house with my mate, so he owns half, we don't own half together. And I paid off that half of the house and built a log cabin in the garden. And for the last 5 years, I've lived in my log cabin in the garden. So I have a little living room, a bedroom, and bathroom. It's like a 20 grand. I have a little hot tub out the front in the decking, which is my £2 grand little treat. But yeah, I live simply. Buy clothes from charity shops and keep my liabilities low, which means that when I get squeezed and I couldn't take any salary and I'm still on half salary, I don't have to stop because I don't have the usual debt constraints that people have. So I was obviously very fortunate to have got access to that level of capital, but I think there's things that we can all do about living like a minimalistic lifestyle that allows you to stay in the game for longer. It was my almost philosophical belief that giving should be an everyday thing. There should be a digital tool that sits in alignment with our other forms of digital identity, like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., that speaks of the fact that giving is an important part of our daily lives, and we're going to try and build it. I think that was pretty much the message I was selling. Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it, and I hope you're still awake.